The city isn't burning. There is no fire. But there is smoke. Except it's not smoke. It's rust. Massive, billowing clouds of red-brown iron oxide rolling through the streets, choking out the sun. I'm looking at the skyline of Porthaven, or what's left of it. The Helix Tower, the defining feature of our city, that twisting spire of steel and glass. It just decapitated itself. The top 20 floors just dusted. They turned into a red mist, and the glass rained down like diamonds. It's quiet now. That's the strangest part. When a building falls, you expect a crash. But rust doesn't crash. It crumbles. It sounds like a landslide of dry sand. Shhhh. I hear it again. The sizzling sound. Like bacon in a pan. It's the railing next to me. It's eating the railing. Let me go back. You need to understand the physics of what happened. Or at least, what should have happened. This morning was routine. 8 a.m. Overcast. The air was salty, heavy with the ocean mist. Standard weather for the bay. I was on the great span. The suspended catwalk beneath the road deck. It's a cage of steel mesh running the entire 2-mile length of the bridge, suspended 300 feet above the water. I was with Miller. He's the new guy, fresh out of engineering school. He still trusted the math. We were inspecting the main cable. For those who don't know, the main cable of a suspension bridge is a miracle. It's 3 feet thick. Inside, it's not one solid bar. It's 20,000 individual steel wires, bundled together, wrapped in a casing, and under immense tension. It holds the weight of thousands of cars, trucks, and lives. Miller was tapping the casing with a hammer. Ping, ping, ping. Hear that, Elias? He asked, grinning. That's the sound of tension. That's 100,000 tons of force singing back at you. I nodded, checking my tablet. Corrosion levels are nominal. The dehumidification system is working. She's healthy. I loved that sound. The ping. It meant solidity. It meant the atoms were holding hands, refusing to let go. Steel is humanity's answer to gravity. It's how we defy the earth. Miller leaned against the suspender rope, the vertical cable connecting the road to the main line. He looked out at the water. My dad worked steel in Pittsburgh, Miller said. He used to say steel has a memory. If you bend it, it remembers. If you heat it, it remembers. I adjusted my hard hat. Let's hope it remembers to hold us up, Miller. Let's move to Section 4. I trusted the catwalk. I trusted the grating beneath my boots. I trusted the carabiner clipped to my safety harness. I didn't know that physics was about to change its mind. It started at 9:02. I was looking at a bolt. Just a standard, grade 8 structural bolt, holding a gusset plate together on the underside of the deck. It was silver, galvanized, shiny. Then, it blinked. I don't know how else to describe it. 1 second it was silver. The next, a patch of reddish-brown bloom appeared on the head. Miller, I said, squinting. Check this. Did we miss a spot on the coating? Miller walked over, his boots clanging on the metal grate. What is it? Bird crap. No. Rust. Fast rust. I reached out to touch it. As my finger got close, the rust spot grew. It didn't just spread. It bloomed. It looked like a time-lapse video of a flower opening, but the flower was corrosion. The silver galvanization flaked off, curling up like burning paper, revealing the dark iron beneath. And then the iron turned red. That's impossible, Miller whispered. I touched the bolt. It wasn't cold metal. It was warm, hot, even. The chemical reaction was releasing heat. And then, the bolt disintegrated. It didn't break. It collapsed into a pile of red powder. The heavy steel plate it was holding groaned. Crack. The plate shifted. "Back up," I said, my voice rising. "Miller, back up." "The bolt just vanished," Miller said. He was staring at his own hand. He was holding his inspection hammer. The head of the hammer, tempered high-carbon steel, was turning orange. "Drop it!" I yelled. Miller didn't drop it. He watched in horror as the head of the hammer dissolved. It rained down as red dust, leaving him holding just the wooden handle. "My watch," Miller stammered. "Elias, my watch." I looked at his wrist. He wore a stainless steel diver's watch. The band was turning to chalk. It crumbled off his wrist, falling through the grating of the catwalk. Then the sound started. It wasn't a mechanical sound. It was the sound of a million distinct snaps. Snap, 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 snap. It was the sound of the catwalk grating, the floor we were standing on, losing its cohesion. "Run!" I screamed. "Get to the pylon. The concrete pylon." We ran. But you can't run when the floor is evaporating. The catwalk was made of steel mesh. As we sprinted, I could feel the boots going soft under me. Not because the rubber was melting, but because the metal grating was turning brittle. Every step kicked up a cloud of red dust. It was like running through a sandstorm, but the sand was being created by our footsteps. "The main cable!" Miller screamed. I looked up. The 3-foot-thick main cable, the spine of the bridge, was bleeding. Red dust was pouring out of the casing like arterial spray. The wire wraps were snapping. Twang, twang, twang. The sound was deafening. Wires under thousands of pounds of tension were snapping and instantly turning to powder before they could even whip through the air. The bridge deck above us, the road, began to sag. I heard the cars. I heard tires screeching. I heard the crunch of fiberglass bumpers hitting each other. But no metal crunch. I saw a sedan fall through the bridge deck. The steel rebar inside the concrete road had dissolved. The concrete, without its steel skeleton, simply crumbled like dry cake. The car fell past us. As it fell, it came apart. The doors fell off, turning to dust mid-air. The engine block dropped out of the bottom, trailing a comet tail of red smoke. By the time it hit the water 300 feet down, it wasn't a car anymore. It was just plastic seats, rubber tires, and glass, splashing into the bay. "Elias!" I turned. Miller had tripped. His boot had punched straight through the rusted grating. He was stuck, his leg dangling into the void. I lunged for him. I grabbed his safety harness. "Pull me up," he screamed. "It's hot. The metal is hot." I grabbed the D-ring on his back. I pulled. The D-ring. The steel ring meant to hold 5,000 pounds. It crumbled in my hand. It turned to coarse red grit. Miller fell back. His eyes went wide. He reached out for the railing. His hand closed around the steel rail. The rail disintegrated under his grip. It offered no support. It was just a line of red shadow. "Elias!" He slipped through the hole in the floor. I watched him fall. I watched the buckles on his harness turn to dust. The plastic webbing flew loose. He hit the water seconds later, a small splash next to the debris of the car. I didn't have time to mourn. The catwalk section I was standing on groaned. The bolts anchoring it to the bridge were dying. The pylon. Piling 4. The massive concrete tower that holds the bridge up. It was 50 feet away. Concrete doesn't rust. Concrete is aggregate and cement. I scrambled on all fours. The heat was intense now. The air was shimmering with oxidation. I coughed, spitting out red sludge. I reached the end of the catwalk, the connection point to the concrete pylon. The steel bracket holding the walkway to the concrete was glowing cherry red. It was in the final stages of the rot. I had to jump. It was a 6-foot gap to the maintenance ledge of the concrete tower. I scrambled back, my boots sliding on the shifting piles of rust. I launched myself. For a second, I was weightless in the red fog. My chest hit the concrete ledge. The breath was knocked out of me. I scrambled up, clawing at the rough, grey surface. Solid. Cold. Real. I rolled onto my back, gasping. And then, the bridge died. I had a front row seat to the end of the world. From my perch on the concrete ledge, I watched the great span surrender. The main cable snapped at the center point. It didn't whip back. It just ceased to be continuous. Without the cable, gravity took the deck. A mile of road, thousands of tons of concrete, asphalt and vehicles, simply dropped. It was a domino effect of disintegration. The steel trusses turned to dust as they fell, creating a massive curtain of red smoke. The sound was a low, grinding roar. Grrrrrr rumble. The cars. Oh God, the cars. I saw a school bus. Yellow. As it fell, the chassis vanished. The yellow body panels fluttered down like leaves. The seats spilled out. The children. I couldn't see them clearly in the dust. I hope I couldn't see them. The splash when the debris hit the water was massive. A tidal wave of dirty, rust-colored foam rose up and slapped against the base of my pylon. Then, silence. Or mostly silence. Just the hiss of the remaining steel fixtures on the pylon turning to powder. I checked myself. My harness. The metal buckles were gone. The straps were hanging loose. My zipper. Gone. My jacket was flapping open. My phone. I pulled it out of my pocket. It's a modern smartphone. Mostly glass, plastic, and aluminum. Aluminum doesn't rust. Not like iron. But the screws inside. The tiny steel screws holding the logic board. I shook the phone. It rattled. It's working, barely. The screen is cracked, but the battery is lithium. The casing is aluminum. It's recording, but I can't call out. The cell towers. They're steel lattices. They're gone. I looked at the city. The smog of rust is drifting through the streets. I see the skeleton of a crane on the docks. It's not falling. It's dissolving from the top down, like a burning cigarette. I am stuck here. The maintenance ladder inside the pylon. Steel rungs. Gone. The door to the internal shaft. Steel reinforced. Jammed or welded shut by the oxidation. I am on a concrete island, 300 feet above the water, surrounded by the red ghosts of a bridge. Wait. I see something. On the water. Below me. A boat. A fiberglass pleasure cruiser. It's drifting through the debris field. The engine must be dead. Pistons are steel, but the hull is intact. There's a man on the deck. He's looking up at me. He's waving a plastic oar. He's shouting something. The wind is carrying it away. I lean over the edge. The concrete is rough under my palms. "The water!" he screams. Don't touch the water. I look down at the bay. The water isn't blue. It's not even the murky brown of the usual harbor. It's fizzing. The massive amount of oxidized iron, tons and tons of it, has dumped into the bay. The chemical reaction. The water is boiling, not from heat, but from chemistry. It's a caustic soup. The fiberglass boat is hissing. The red stain is climbing up the white hull. "Throw me a line," the man yells. I look at my belt. I have my safety rope. It's nylon. It survived. But the carabiner at the end, the steel clip, is gone. It's just a frayed knot. And the anchor point on the wall, gone. I have a rope, but I have nothing to tie it to. And even if I did, I look at the man's boat again. The red water is eating the hull? No, that's not right. Fiberglass shouldn't react. Unless the dust isn't just rust. Unless it's abrasive. The cloud of red dust settling on the water. It's like liquid sandpaper. The man screams. The bottom of his boat gives way. He goes into the water. He thrashes. He comes up coughing red foam. He tries to swim, but the water is thick. It's a slurry. He goes under. He doesn't come back up. I pull back from the edge. I'm alone. I check my pockets. I have a plastic bottle of water, half full. I have a protein bar. I have my aluminum flashlight. And I have this phone. The sun is setting. It's a blood-red sunset, filtered through the iron clouds. It's getting cold. And I can feel a vibration in the concrete. Deep down, inside the pylon. Concrete is strong. But concrete is reinforced with what? Rebar. Steel rebar. The skeleton inside this concrete island is dying. I can hear it cracking. I have to get off this pylon before it crumbles into the bay like the rest of the world. I am inside the pylon. I had to get off the roof. The vibration on the exterior ledge was getting violent. It wasn't just shaking. The concrete was sweating. There is a term in engineering called oxide jacking. It's what happens when rebar rusts inside concrete. Rust takes up more space than steel, about 6 times the volume. So when the steel turns to dust, it doesn't just leave a hole. It expands. It pushes outward with thousands of pounds of pressure per square inch. The pylon isn't crumbling because of gravity. It's exploding from the inside out. The skeleton is trying to break out of the skin. I found the maintenance door. Standard 16-gauge steel. Yesterday, I would have needed a blowtorch or a heavy-duty key to open it. Today, I kicked it. It didn't clang. It crunched. My boot went straight through the center of the door. It felt like kicking a sandcastle. A cloud of red dust puffed out, blinding me for a second. The metal had oxidized so completely that it was holding its shape purely by habit. I kicked again, and the door collapsed inward. I stepped through the hole, coughing, waving my flashlight. It's dark in here. The emergency lights are dead, probably because the conduits were galvanized steel. My aluminum flashlight cuts a clean, white beam through the red fog. I am standing on the service platform of level 15. I shined the light down the shaft. It goes down 300 feet to the caisson, the foundation at the water level, and it goes up another 100 feet to the anchor housing. But the stairs. I laughed when I saw them. A hysterical, short laugh that hurt my throat. There are no stairs. The spiral staircase was steel. It's gone. In its place is a spiral shadow on the concrete wall. A red stain spiraling down into the abyss. At the bottom of the shaft, 300 feet down, I can see a pile. A conical mound of red dust. That is the staircase. That is the elevator car. That is probably the maintenance crew. I am trapped on a concrete lip, 3 feet wide, inside a hollow tower that is slowly tearing itself apart. Crack. A piece of concrete the size of a microwave blasts off the wall above me. It hits the opposite side of the shaft and shatters. Spalling. The concrete is flaking off as the rebar expands. I have to go down. I cannot stay here. But how? I checked the walls. The shaft is lined with utilities. There is a water pipe. Cast iron. It's bleeding rust, dripping a thick, red sludge down the wall. Useless. There is a ventilation duct. Galvanized sheet metal. It looks like lace. It's full of holes, crumbling under its own weight. But then, the main power feed. The great span had massive decorative lights on the suspension cables. To power them, they ran heavy-gauge copper cabling up the pylons. Copper. Copper oxidizes, sure. It turns green. It gets a patina. But it doesn't disintegrate. Not like this. Not instantly. I shined the light on the cable run. A thick black snake, 3 inches in diameter, clamped to the wall with, oh hell, clamped with steel brackets. The brackets are gone. They are just red stains. The heavy copper cable is hanging loose, swinging slightly in the draft. It's only held up by the terminal box at the very top of the tower, and maybe the tension of the run itself. It's dangling right down the center of the shaft. I reached out and grabbed it. It's heavy, solid. The insulation is thick rubber. I pulled on it. It swayed, heavy and sluggish. Somewhere above, something creaked, but it held. This is my rope. A 300-foot slide down a live power line, assuming the power is still on? Unlikely. The grid must be dead. Into a pile of rust. I looked at my gloves. Leather palms. Good friction. I looked at my boots. Rubber soles. I wrapped my legs around the cable. I squeezed tight. I leaned back. I started to slide. The descent was a nightmare of friction and dust. The air inside the shaft is unbreathable. It's thick with iron particles. Every breath tastes like I'm chewing on a penny. My throat feels raw, swollen. I tied a handkerchief around my face, but it's already soaked red. I slid in bursts. 10 feet. Stop. Clamp with the legs. Breathe. 10 feet. Stop. The only sound was the hiss of the rubber insulation against my gloves and the constant pop-crack of the concrete walls spalling around me. About halfway down, level 8, maybe, I saw something. A platform. Most of the intermediate gratings had fallen, but this one was concrete. A structural stiffener ring. I swung toward it. My boots hit the ledge. I let go of the cable and collapsed, my arms shaking uncontrollably. I shined the light around. I wasn't alone. There was a body. A worker. Wearing the orange vest of the bridge authority. He was sitting against the wall, legs splayed out. "Hey!" I rasped. "Hey!" He didn't move. I crawled over to him. "Buddy, we need to move. The tower is." I touched his shoulder. It was stiff. Not rigor mortis stiff. Statue stiff. I shined the light on his face. His skin was gray. No, not gray. It was coated. He had breathed in the dust. The red dust. He had suffocated, gasping for air, inhaling clouds of pure iron oxide. the moisture in his lungs, the water in his body. It had reacted with the dust. It had turned into a paste, a cement. There was red foam dried around his mouth and nose, hard as rock. He had drowned on dry land. His lungs had turned into concrete blocks inside his chest. I recoiled, scrambling backward until my back hit the wall. I checked my own breathing. Shallow, wheezing. I hawked and spit. A glob of red phlegm hit the floor. It didn't splatter. It sat there, thick and heavy. I have to get out. I have to get to fresh air. If I stay in this shaft, my lungs will solidify just like his. I looked at the copper cable again. It was 10 feet away, hanging in the void. I stood up. My legs felt like lead. I jumped for the cable. I caught it. The rubber burned my palms. I slid the rest of the way fast. Too fast. I hit the bottom. I landed in the debris pile. It was soft. A 10-foot mound of red powder, the remains of the stairs, the elevator, and the other platforms. I sank in up to my waist. It was hot. The chemical heat was still radiating from the pile. It felt like wading into a compost heap that was catching fire. I thrashed, kicking my legs. The dust billowed up, a choking cloud. I scrambled to the edge of the pile, clawing my way to the caisson floor. There was a door here, an exit to the exterior dock at the water level. Please, let it be open. It wasn't a door anymore. It was a hole. The frame had disintegrated. I crawled through it, out onto the concrete dock at the base of the pylon. The wind hit me. Fresh-ish air. Salty ocean air mixed with the metallic tang. I ripped the mask off and vomited red slime into the water. I gasped, sucking in the cool air, trying to clear the grit from my bronchial tubes. I wiped my mouth. I looked around. I was at the waterline. The bay was churning. I am floating. I found a boat. The bridge authority keeps a small fleet of inspection skiffs docked at the base of the pylons. Most of them were gone, sunk, or drifted away. But one remained. This is Porthaven 4. It was an aluminum hull workboat. Aluminum. Thank God for the galvanic series. Aluminum is non-ferrous. It's immune to the red plague. The boat was bobbing in the red sludge water. The paint was stripped off the hull. The abrasive dust in the water acted like sandblasting, but the metal was intact. The engine, however, I jumped into the boat. The boat rocked. I checked the outboard motor. I pulled the cowling off. The engine block was aluminum. Good. The pistons? Steel. The drive shaft? Steel. I tried the pull cord anyway. Crunch. The internal mechanism was seized. A pile of rust poured out of the air intake. Dead in the water. But there were oars. Aluminum shaft. Plastic blades. I slot them into the oarlocks. I pushed off from the pylon. Just in time. As I drifted about 50 yards out, a massive boom echoed across the water. I looked back. Piling 4, the tower I had just descended, split open. A vertical crack ran from the top to the waterline. The internal pressure finally won. A massive slab of the outer concrete face sheared off. It fell into the water with a splash that nearly capsized my skiff. The exposed interior was a nightmare. The rebar wasn't just gone. The voids where the rebar used to be were bleeding red smoke. The tower looked like a rotten tooth breaking apart. I rode. I rode away from the bridge. Away from the collapse. The water is thick. It offers too much resistance. It's like rowing through tomato soup. The water is a suspension of iron particles. Every stroke is a workout. But I have to get to the shore. The docks are about a mile away. The sun has set now. The only light comes from the moon, which looks sickly orange through the haze. And fires. I can see fires in the city now. Not metal burning. Wood. Houses. The old timber-framed houses on the hill. Without water pressure, steel pipes, the fire department is useless. I row toward the dark shapes of the shipping terminal. I need supplies. I need water that doesn't taste like blood. And I need to find out if anyone else is alive. I reached the container terminal. I thought this would be a safe place to land. A flat, concrete apron. I was wrong. Porthaven is a major shipping hub. Thousands of shipping containers. Shipping containers are made of cotton steel, weathering steel, designed to rust on the surface to protect the core. The plague didn't care about the surface. It ate the core. The terminal isn't a grid of stacked boxes anymore. It is a desert. I beached the skiff on a concrete ramp. My boots crunched on the ground. I shined my flashlight across the terminal. It looks like Mars. Massive, rolling dunes of red dust stretch as far as I can see. Some of them are 50 feet high. Where the containers were stacked 5 high, they have simply collapsed into pyramids of powder. The wind is whipping the dust up into swirling devils. I walked into the maze. I have to cover my mouth again. The air here is dense. I'm looking for the Port Authority building. It's a brick structure. It should be standing. I climbed up one of the smaller dunes. My feet sank in to the ankles. I stumbled over something hard. I dug it out. A blender. A plastic kitchen blender. It must have been cargo in one of the containers. The steel container dissolved, leaving the plastic contents buried in the sand. I looked around. The dunes were full of artifacts. Televisions. Plastic toys. Clothes. Tires. It was a graveyard of consumer goods, stripped of their metal packaging. I slid down the other side of the dune, and then I saw them. The grey men. I froze. About 50 yards away, near the entrance to the terminal, a group of 3 figures. They were stumbling, moving erratically. I crouched behind a pile of solidified rust. I turned off my light. I watched them in the moonlight. They weren't wearing masks. They were coughing. A wet, hacking sound that carried over the wind. They were looting, or trying to. One of them was dragging a plastic crate. Suddenly, one of the figures collapsed. He didn't fall like a person faints. He fell stiffly, like a tree falling. He hit the ground and didn't move. The other 2 stopped. They looked at him. They didn't help him. They didn't kneel. They just stood there, swaying. Then, one of them looked up, straight at me. I don't know how he saw me. Maybe he heard me breathing. He pointed. His hand. I grabbed my binoculars, plastic housing, glass lenses. Thank God for optical glass. I focused. His hand was grey. The fingers were fused together. The dust. It was coating him, hardening on his skin. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out, just a dry rasp. His jaw was rigid. He started to run toward me. A stiff-legged, Frankenstein run. The joints of his knees were grinding. The statues aren't dead. Not all of them. Some of them are still moving, encased in a living tomb of concrete flesh. And they look angry. I scrambled back up the dune. I can't fight them. I have no weapon. A gun would dissolve. A knife would crumble. I have a flashlight and a plastic oar. I ran toward the brick building in the distance. The Port Authority. If I can get inside. If the doors are wood. I hear them behind me. The crunching of boots on rust. They are slow, but they don't seem to get tired. I'm sprinting now. The dust is burning my eyes. I reached the building. Brick walls. Thank you, masonry. The door. Please be wood. It's glass. A commercial glass double door with aluminum frames. Yes. I grabbed the handle. Locked. I raised the plastic oar and smashed the glass. Crash. I dove through the frame. I scrambled up and shoved a heavy wooden desk in front of the broken door. I backed away into the dark lobby. Outside, the grey men stopped at the door. They stood there, staring in with eyes that were slowly clouding over with red film. They banged on the glass. But they didn't break it. They didn't have the strength, or maybe the impact hurt their brittle bones. They just stood there, waiting. I am inside, but I am not safe, because I can hear a sound coming from the ceiling. The ventilation system. The sound of fans spinning? No. The sound of dust pouring through the vents. The building is filling up. The room is filling up. I am in the records office of the Port Authority. I barricaded the door, but I forgot about the air. The HVAC system, the lungs of this building, was made of galvanized sheet metal. It has disintegrated. The ducts are gone. Now, the vents are just open holes in the ceiling, and the wind outside is blowing the red dunes into the ventilation shafts. It's pouring out of the ceiling registers. Shush. A steady stream of red grit, piling up on the desks, on the floor, on my shoulders. It looks like an hourglass. A timer counting down to my suffocation. I found a roll of packing tape in a desk drawer. Heavy-duty plastic. I'm standing on a swivel chair, taping over the vents. The plastic tape sticks to the drywall. It holds back the flow. For now, I can see the tape bulging. The weight of the dust is pressing against it. It looks like a blister about to burst. I have cleared a space in the corner. I swept the dust away with a file folder. I need to take stock. My resources are pathetic. 1 bottle of water, now a quarter full. A flashlight, batteries holding. A map of Porthaven, paper, thank God. And a radio. I found a hand-crank emergency weather radio in the supply closet. Plastic casing. I've been cranking it for 10 minutes. Static. Just white noise. Or rather, red noise. The iron dust in the atmosphere is creating massive electromagnetic interference. It's scrambling the signals. Wait. I hear something. Sound FX. High-pitched static, cutting in and out. A faint, distorted voice. Sanctuary. Stone. St. Jude's, structural integrity, holding repeat, high ground. The signal died. St. Jude's. The cathedral on the hill. I look at the map. St. Jude's is in the old district. It's a massive Gothic structure, built in 1890, before structural steel became the standard. It's stone blocks, granite, limestone, mortar. It uses gravity and arches to stand, not steel beams. It's a fortress, but it's 3 miles away. 3 miles through a city that has been turned into a blender. I look at the window. The grey men are gone. They wandered off, or maybe they froze in place. But the sky, The sky is flickering. Not lightning. It looks like arcs. Tiny, purple arcs of electricity jumping between the clouds of dust. Triboelectric effect. Static discharge. The air is so dry, so full of metal particles, that the atmosphere is turning into a giant battery. If I go out there, I'm not just walking through poison. I'm walking through a capacitor. I heard a typewriter. Clack, clack, clack. It came from the office next door. The director's office. I froze. Who is typing during the apocalypse? I picked up my plastic oar. I crept into the hallway. The floor was covered in an inch of dust. It muffled my footsteps. I pushed the door open. There was a woman sitting at a desk. She was wearing a navy blue blazer. Her hair was in a tight bun. She was staring at a typewriter, an old-school, mechanical typewriter. But she wasn't typing. Her hands were resting on the keys. Clack. Her index finger twitched. It hit the F key. "Hello," I whispered. She didn't turn around. "Excuse me." I walked around the desk. I saw her face. She was coated. The grey film covered her cheeks, her forehead, her eyelids. It looked like she was wearing a clay mask that had dried and cracked. But her eyes were still wet. They were frantic, darting left and right. She was alive, trapped inside her own skin. "Help," she wheezed. The sound didn't come from her lips. Her lips were fused shut. The sound came from her throat, a ventriloquist act of desperation. "I can't move." I looked at her hands. The dust had settled on her fingers. The moisture from her sweat had reacted with the iron oxide. Her fingers were cemented to the keys. She was fused to the machine. "The dust," I said. "It hardens. Cut me loose." I looked for a tool, a knife, scissors. I found a pair of scissors in a cup. I picked them up. As soon as I applied pressure to the handle, the blades crumbled. Red dust spilled onto her hands. "I can't," I said. "The metal is gone. Break them." She rasped. "Break what?" "My fingers." I stared at her. She wanted me to snap her finger bones to free her from the typewriter. I looked at her eyes. She meant it. I reached out. I grabbed her wrist. It was hard. The skin felt like drywall. "I'm sorry," I whispered. I pulled. Crack. She screamed. A muffled, internal scream that vibrated in her chest. But her hand didn't come free. The cement wasn't just on the surface. It had leached into the pores. It had bonded with the bone. I wasn't breaking her free. I was breaking the statue. If I pulled harder, I would tear her hand off. I let go. She was sobbing now. Dry, hacking sobs. "Leave me," she whispered. "I can't just leave you. Go to the vault." The vault. Basement. Sample. Vault. Concrete. Her head slumped forward. Clack. Her nose hit the space bar. She stopped moving. The sobbing stopped. Her chest rose one last time, stiffly, and then held. She solidified. I stood there for a minute, listening to the wind howl outside. The sample vault. The Port Authority inspects concrete samples. They have a reinforced room. Maybe there are supplies. Maybe there is a suit. I ran to the stairwell. The basement is better. The air is cooler. The dust is thinner here. Gravity has kept most of it upstairs. I found the sample vault. It's a thick, concrete bunker door. No steel handle. It uses a concrete counterweight mechanism. Ancient design. Reliable. I pushed the stone door open. Inside, it looks like a geological library. Shelves and shelves of concrete cylinders, core samples, rock fragments. And in the corner, hazmat gear. Not the cheap stuff. Industrial grade. Tyvek suits. Full-face respirators. But the filters. I checked the masks. The filters utilize activated charcoal and metal mesh. I shook a filter cartridge. It rattled with dust. The mesh inside had disintegrated. The mask is useless. It will just funnel red dust into my lungs. But the suit, the Tyvek, is synthetic. Plastic. I put it on. It's white. I look like a ghost. I taped the wrists. I taped the ankles. I found a pair of heavy rubber chemical gloves. I put them on. I feel safer. Enclosed. I found a crowbar on a workbench. I reached for it instinctively. Then I stopped. It's red. It's a pile of dust in the shape of a crowbar. Next to it, a mallet. A rubber mallet with a fiberglass handle. I grabbed it. It's solid. This is my weapon. I checked the rest of the room. Water. A 5-gallon jug for the water cooler. It's full. I can't carry 5 gallons. It's 40 pounds. It will slow me down. I found a smaller plastic bottle. I filled it. I drank until my stomach hurt. Then I saw the logbook on the desk, open to today's date. The handwriting was shaky. 9:15 a.m. Sample C, 14 through C, 20 degrading. Rebar failure. Spalling detected. 9:30 a.m. Atmospheric ionization high. Magnetic anomaly detected. 9:45 a.m. It's not just oxidation. It's entropy. The half-life of ferrum has been reduced to milliseconds. God help us. Magnetic anomaly. That explains the static. The dust is magnetized. If the dust is magnetic. I looked at the compass on my keychain. The needle was spinning wildly. Direction is gone. GPS is gone. I have to navigate by sight. I have to get to St. Jude's. I grabbed the mallet. I grabbed the water. I climbed back up the stairs. I walked past the administrator's office. I didn't look in. I climbed out the window. Into the storm. I am walking through hell. The wind has picked up. It's a gale now. The red dunes are shifting. I'm walking on a moving landscape. And the lightning. It's everywhere. Zap. Crack. Zap. Purple bolts of static electricity are arcing between the ground and the air. They are drawn to conductivity. They are drawn to the grey men. I passed a group of them near the gate. 5 statues. Frozen in mid-stride. A bolt of red lightning struck the tallest one. Boom. The statue exploded. Not into gore. Into shrapnel. Chunks of grey, hardened flesh flew everywhere. The lightning didn't kill him. He was already dead. But it shattered him. I realized then, the grey men act as lightning rods. They are full of iron. I kept my head down. I stayed low. I am wearing a plastic suit. I am an insulator. Please let me be an insulator. I made it to the street. This used to be Front Street. A 4-lane avenue. Now it's a canyon of rust. The cars are gone. Just piles of glass and rubber. But the buildings, the modern condos on the left, collapsed. Their steel frames turned to dust, and the glass curtain walls came down. But the old warehouses on the right, brick, timber, they are standing. Damaged, yes. Windows blown out, but standing. I stuck to the brick side of the street. I heard a noise, a hum, a mechanical hum. It wasn't a car. It was high-pitched, electric. I saw lights cutting through the fog. A vehicle. I hid behind a pile of bricks. It came around the corner. It was a golf cart, or a utility buggy. Plastic body, aluminum frame, electric motor. It was moving fast. Driving it was a man in a yellow hazmat suit. He was wearing a full-face mask. A custom job. It looked like he had taped a plastic bag over his head and run a hose to a scuba tank on the seat next to him. He wasn't stopping. He was swerving around the piles of rust. I stood up. I waved my arms. Hey! Hey! He saw me. He didn't slow down. He accelerated. He steered right toward me. Wait! I jumped back. He drove past me, clipping my arm with the side mirror. As he passed, I looked into the cab. He wasn't alone. In the passenger seat, there was a woman. She wasn't wearing a mask. She was grey, but she was moving. She was thrashing against the seatbelt. Her mouth was open in a silent scream. Her hands were clawing at the dashboard, leaving grey smears. He was kidnapping a statue, or saving his wife. The buggy disappeared into the red fog. I stood there, rubbing my bruised arm. People are losing it. The panic is setting in. I have to keep moving. I looked up the hill. I could see it. Just a silhouette against the flashing purple sky. The spires of St. Jude's. It looked intact. Dark, brooding, but solid. Between me and the cathedral lies the financial district. The forest of skyscrapers. Or what's left of them. I started walking. I entered the financial district. This is where the death toll is highest. I can feel it. The streets here are deep. The dust is waist-high in places. This dust, it used to be the skeletons of 40-story buildings, and the people inside them. I am wading through a graveyard. I stepped on something hard. I looked down. A gargoyle. A stone gargoyle, fallen from some old facade. It was staring up at me, grinning. It was the only thing on the street that looked like a face. The modern buildings, the ones that were all glass and steel, they are just shards now. The street is carpeted in broken tempered glass. Millions of diamonds mixed with the red sand. It's slippery, like walking on ice. I fell twice. The Tyvek suit tore at the knee. I quickly patched it with tape. If the dust gets in, rumble. The ground shook. I looked up. The Sovereign Bank Tower. 50 stories. It was leaning. The steel core must be gone, but the concrete floors were stacked like pancakes, holding together by friction and gravity. But gravity is a harsh mistress. As I watched, the 20th floor gave way. It didn't fall over. It pancaked. Floor 20 hit floor 19. Boom. Floor 19 hit 18. Boom. It was a chain reaction. A progressive collapse. The sound was deafening. A rhythmic, pile-driving beat. Boom. 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 A cloud of debris, concrete dust mixed with a red iron fog, shot out from the base of the building. It was coming right at me. A pyroclastic flow of the city. Run, I told myself. But you can't run in waist-deep dust. I saw a subway entrance. The green globe light was shattered, but the stairs led down. Subway means steel rails, I thought. Subway means death. But the avalanche was seconds away. I had no choice. I dove down the stairs. I scrambled past the turnstiles, which were just rust piles. I threw myself behind the concrete ticket booth. The cloud hit the entrance above. The world went black. The roar was so loud I felt it in my teeth. Then, silence. I turned on my light. The entrance is blocked. The stairs are buried under tons of rubble. I am trapped underground. I am in the subway. I shined the light down the platform. The tracks. The steel rails are gone. In their place are two long, parallel lines of red dust, like trails of dried blood stretching into the dark. I checked the map. The subway line runs north. It has a station at Cathedral Square. It's a straight shot. Underground. Protected from the lightning. Protected from the falling buildings. But I shined the light at the ceiling of the station. It's arched concrete. Tiles. It looks solid. But water. There is water dripping from the ceiling. Red water. The ground above is saturated. If the tunnels flood, I have to move fast. I stepped onto the tracks. My boots sank into the ghost of the rail. I started walking into the dark tunnel. And then I heard it. Not wind. Not lightning. Clicking. Like crabs scuttling on stone. Coming from the tunnel ahead. I am walking inside the throat of the city. The subway tunnel is a perfect circle of concrete, lined with ceramic tiles. It should be pitch black, but it's not. The red dust. It glows. Faintly. Phosphorescence? Or maybe it's the ionization I saw earlier. The trails of dust where the rails used to be are pulsating with a dull, ember-like light. It gives the tunnel the look of a dying artery. I'm walking on the wooden railway ties. They are rotting, squishing under my boots. The spikes that held the rails are gone, leaving black holes in the wood like worm burrows. The water is rising. It's ankle-deep now, a sludge of rust and sewage. And the clicking sound. It stopped. As soon as I stepped deeper into the tunnel, the skittering noise vanished. That's worse. I keep shining my light ahead, waiting to see eyes reflect the beam. But there are no rats. No roaches. The rodents must have died instantly. Their small bodies couldn't handle the atmospheric change. The tunnels are sterile. I walked for what felt like a mile. Then I saw the blockage. A subway train. It was the 10 a.m. express. It must have been moving at 40 miles per hour when the physics broke. It's not a train anymore. It's a carcass. The cars were made of stainless steel skins over steel frames. They didn't just stop. They disintegrated in motion. I'm looking at a streak of wreckage smeared along the tunnel walls for 200 yards. Plastic seats twisted into impossible shapes. Aluminum handrails bent like pretzels. And clothes. Thousands of pieces of clothing. Coats, hats, scarves. Flung against the walls by the momentum of the crash. They stick to the wet tiles like damp confetti. I have to climb over it. The pile of debris fills the tunnel. I climbed onto a heap of plastic seating. It shifted. Crunch. I froze. Beneath the plastic. Bones. Not dust. Human bones. Calcium doesn't rust. The passengers. The soft tissue might have grayed, but the skeletons remained. The impact shattered them. I am climbing over a mound of plastic and femurs. I tried not to look. I tried to focus on the tunnel ceiling. Just debris, I whispered. Just debris. Then I saw the hand, sticking out of the wreckage. It wasn't a skeleton. It was a grey one. A statue. Intact. He must have been standing still, maybe bracing against a pole, when the train dissolved. He tumbled, but he didn't shatter. He was lying on his back, staring up at the tunnel roof. His chest was cracked open, revealing, not organs, but a honeycomb structure. Inside the grey stone of his torso, the flesh had formed geometric patterns, hexagons, like a hive, and inside the hexagons, movement. I leaned closer. Red beetles? No, the dust. The iron dust inside him. It was moving, swirling, organizing. The magnetic field. The statue wasn't alive. It was a container for the magnetic storm. I stepped back. Click. The sound came from behind the train wreck. Click. Scrape. Click. It wasn't a beetle. It was heavy. I dropped behind the wreck. I turned off my light. I peered over the edge of a twisted aluminum doorframe. In the gloom of the phosphorescent dust, I saw them. They weren't walking. The tunnel floor ahead, the stretch of track between the wreck and the next station, was moving. Shapes. Human shapes. But wrong. They were on their hands and knees, or dragging themselves on their stomachs. The crawlers. These were the ones who were in the train when it crashed. The ones who didn't die from the impact, but breathed in the clouds of instant rust from the disintegrating train car. They were heavy with it, weighed down by the sudden calcification of their lungs and muscles. They couldn't stand. Their centers of gravity had shifted, so they crawled. Their grey, hardened hands struck the concrete ties. Click. Their stiff knees scraped against the stone. Scrape. They were heading north, toward the station. Why? Draft, fresh air, or the magnetic pull. I have to go that way. The station is my exit. There are maybe 20 of them, blocking the tunnel. They move slow, painfully slow. If I'm quiet, if I stick to the maintenance walkway on the side of the tunnel, I can bypass them. The walkway is narrow, concrete, about 3 feet above the tracks. I climbed up onto the ledge. My boots were wet, slippery. I took a step. Silent. Another step. I was right above them now. I looked down at a crawler. It was a woman. Or it had been. She was wearing a torn business suit. Her head was twisted at an unnatural angle, looking up, but she had no eyes, just smooth, grey depressions. She paused. She lifted a hand. She slapped the ground. Spac. Echolocation. Vibration sensing. I froze. She lowered her head and kept crawling. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I moved faster. I was halfway past the group when the tunnel betrayed me. The maintenance walkway has a handrail. Or it did. Now, it has holes where the rail used to be. I wasn't looking at the wall. I was looking at the monsters. My shoulder brushed against a loose conduit hanging from the ceiling. PVC pipe. It swung. It hit the wall. Thud. The sound echoed in the round tunnel like a gunshot. Every crawler stopped. 20 heads snapped up toward the walkway. toward me. For a second, nothing happened. Then, a sound. It came from their throats. The sound of air being forced through stone pipes. They turned. They didn't stand up. They scrambled. Like spiders. They threw themselves at the wall of the walkway. Their hardened fingers clawed at the concrete lip. I ran. Go! I yelled at myself. I sprinted along the narrow ledge. Behind me, the sound of clicking exploded into a frenzy. Click, 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 click. They were climbing. I looked back. One of them had hooked its chin over the ledge. It was hauling itself up with rigid, jerky movements. I slipped on a patch of slime. I fell to my knees. I scrambled up, losing my grip on the mallet. It spun away into the dark. I didn't stop to get it. I saw the lights of the station ahead. A faint, white glow. Cathedral Square, I gasped. I reached the end of the tunnel. The platform was there. But it was high, 5 feet above the track level. I jumped. My chest hit the platform edge. I kicked, scrambling to pull myself up. A hand grabbed my boot. A grey, cold grip. I looked down. A crawler was below me. It had lunged from the tracks. Its face was a blank slate of grey stone, but its mouth was a jagged hole. It pulled. I felt my knee pop. The weight was immense. It felt like an anchor was attached to my leg. I kicked with my other foot. I stomped on its fingers. Crack. The fingers shattered like porcelain. The crawler fell back, silent. I hauled myself onto the platform. I rolled onto the tiled floor, gasping. I looked back at the tracks. The tunnel was filled with them, a sea of grey shapes, writhing in the red water. But they couldn't climb the platform wall. It was too high, too smooth. They piled up against the base, clawing at the concrete, hissing. I am safe. For now. Cathedral Square Station. It's a mausoleum. The station is vaulted, old-world architecture, mosaic tiles on the walls. But the air is different here. It's not dusty. It's clear. I stood up, checking my suit. The tear in the knee is widening, but the skin underneath looks okay. Pink. Soft. I took a sip of water. Empty. I dropped the bottle. It clattered on the tiles. The sound was crisp. No muffled red noise. Why is the air clear? I walked toward the turnstiles. Then I saw it. The escalators. Usually, an escalator is a machine of steel steps and chains. Now, it's a slide. The steps are gone. The underlying truss is gone. All that's left is the concrete incline where the machine used to sit. A smooth, 40-degree ramp leading up to the surface. And at the top, light. Daylight? No, it's night. Firelight. I climbed the ramp. My rubber boots gripped the rough concrete. I reached the mezzanine level. The exit gates were gone. I walked out onto the street level. I stopped. I was standing in Cathedral Square, and I understood why the air was clear. Fire. The square was burning, but not the buildings. Piles. Piles of debris. Piles of clothes. Piles of things. Bonfires were roaring in the center of the plaza, fueled by wood furniture, books, anything flammable. The heat was pushing the red dust away. It was creating an updraft, a thermal bubble of clean air. And in the center of the square, rising above the smoke, St. Jude's Cathedral, the sanctuary. It was magnificent. granite blocks, black with age, rising into spires that seemed to pierce the red clouds. The stained glass windows were glowing from the inside. Lights. Real lights. Generators. Candles. The heavy oak doors at the top of the stairs were closed. Barred. But the plaza wasn't empty. There were people. Hundreds of them. Survivors. They were huddled around the fires, wrapped in blankets, coats, plastic tarps. Some were wearing masks. Some were just holding rags to their faces. They weren't moving much. They looked exhausted, broken. I walked toward the nearest fire. A man looked up. He was holding a shovel, a plastic snow shovel. He saw my white Tyvek suit. "Back off!" he shouted. Others turned. They looked at me with fear. "I'm clean," I yelled, holding up my gloved hands. "I'm not sick. I'm from the port. Check him," someone yelled. A woman stepped forward. She was wearing a nurse's scrub top and a bandana. She had a magnet. A simple refrigerator magnet. "Arm out," she ordered. I held out my arm. She pressed the magnet against my suit. It fell off. "He's clean," she announced. The tension broke. The man with the shovel lowered it. "Water?" I asked. The nurse pointed to a large plastic rain barrel near the church steps. "Boiled," she said. "But it tastes like rust." I walked over. I dipped a ladle and drank. It was warm and metallic, but it was liquid. I looked at the cathedral doors. "Why aren't you inside?" I asked the nurse. She laughed. Bitterly. "Inside is full," she said. "Father Thomas locked the doors an hour ago. Said the structural integrity of the crypt is compromised." Compromised. He says the foundation is shifting. He says the devils are in the basement. Devils. The rats, she said, or whatever they are now. They came up through the drains. I looked at the massive stone church. It was supposed to be the fortress, the one place without steel. But if the rats are inside, and if the people are locked out, I looked at the crowd. They were vulnerable, exposed. The red fog was pressing in on the edges of the square. The fires were dying down, and from the subway entrance I just left, I heard a sound. Click, click. The crawlers. They had followed me. They were coming up the ramp. "We can't stay here," I said to the nurse. "Where else is there?" she asked. "The high ground," I said. "The bell tower. The doors are locked, genius." I looked at the architecture of the church. Gothic revival. Flying buttresses. Stone carvings. Rough surface. Plenty of handholds. I'm a structural inspector. I know how buildings are put together, and I know how to climb them. "I'm going to open the doors," I said. I looked at the shovel man. "Give me that shovel." He handed it to me. "Watch the subway entrance," I warned. "If you see grey things crawling, hit them. Hit them until they shatter." I turned to the church. I have to climb. I have to climb the granite face of St. Jude's, break into the belfry, and open the doors from the inside, before the crawlers reach the crowd. I am clinging to the face of God, or at least, the face of his house. I am 50 feet up the west wall of the cathedral. My fingers are bleeding inside the rubber gloves. Granite is sharp, but it's solid. Every hold is a relief. Stone. Mortar. Stone. No crumbling steel. No dissolving bolts. just ancient, compression-based engineering. The wind is tearing at my suit. The red dust swirls around the gargoyles like demonic halos. I reached a flying buttress. It's a narrow stone arch bridging the gap between the outer wall and the main nave. I have to shimmy across it. I straddled the stone. I looked down. The fires in the square look like tiny stars. The crowd is screaming. I can see them. The crawlers have emerged from the subway. A stream of grey shapes pouring into the plaza. The man with the shovel is swinging wildly. Smash! Smash! But there are too many of them. I have to hurry. I reached the main wall. The stained glass window is right there. The rose window. It's beautiful. Blue and red glass set in lead. Lead came. Lead is soft, but it doesn't rust instantly. However, the wind, the vibration, the lead is fatigue-cracked. I grabbed the stone sill of the window. I looked for an entry, a maintenance hatch, a ventilation slit. There, above the window, a louvre board for the bell tower. Wood, rotted wood. I climbed higher. My boots slipped on a patch of moss. I caught myself on a gargoyle's wing. The gargoyle. It moved. Not a hallucination. The stone head shifted. I stared at it. It wasn't a gargoyle. It was a bird. A pigeon? No. Too big. A hawk. A hawk that had been roosting here when the dust hit. It was calcified, frozen in a crouching position on the ledge. But its eyes, red beads, glowing. It hissed at me. It swiped with a stone talon. It's alive. A living statue of a bird of prey. It guards the tower. I don't have time for this, I yelled. I swung the shovel, which I had strapped to my back. Whack. The plastic blade hit the stone bird. The bird didn't shatter. It was dense. It lunged. It bit my arm. The beak tore through the Tyvek. It grazed my skin. Pain. Sharp and cold. I swung again. Harder. Aiming for the neck. Crack. The head snapped off. The body of the hawk fell backward, tumbling off the ledge. It fell 60 feet and exploded on the steps below. I gasped, clutching my arm. The suit is breached. I grabbed the duct tape from my belt. I slapped a piece over the hole. Keep moving. I reached the wooden louvres. I kicked. The rotten wood gave way. I squeezed through the hole. I tumbled onto a wooden floor. Darkness. The smell of incense and bat guano. And something else. The smell of ozone. I am in the bell tower. I stood up. I turned on my light. The bells are there. Massive bronze bells. Bronze is copper and tin. They are safe. But the frame holding them, it was timber. Massive oak beams, but reinforced with iron straps. The straps are gone. The bells are sitting precariously on the wood, ready to fall. If I touch them, they might crash through the floor. I have to get down to the nave. I found the trapdoor. I opened it. I looked down into the church. It's full of candles. And people. Priests. Nuns. No, they are statues. Rows and rows of pews filled with grey people. They aren't moving. They are kneeling. This was a mass. The 9 a.m. mass. When the event happened, they were praying. They stayed praying. And they calcified in that position. It's a sanctuary of the dead. But wait. Movement near the altar. A figure in red robes. Father Thomas? He's moving. He's alive. He's holding something up to the great crucifix. A piece of metal. It's glowing. Purple light. The static. The magnetism. He's not hiding from the devils. He's summoning them. I am descending into the belly of the church. I climbed down the maintenance ladder from the belfry. The wood rungs groaned, threatening to snap, but they held. I am now in the choir loft, looking down at the nave. It is a scene from a nightmare painted by a madman. The cathedral is illuminated not by candles, but by it. At the altar, where the tabernacle should be, there is a floating object. It's about the size of a basketball, a jagged, swirling sphere of compressed red dust. It's spinning violently, held together by visible arcs of purple electricity. The iron heart. It's the epicenter, the magnetic anomaly. It's pulling the iron out of the air, compressing it, and discharging the energy as lightning. And the congregation. I was right. They are statues, rows of grey, kneeling figures. But they aren't just kneeling. They are facing the sphere. Their fused hands are raised toward it. The air down here is thick with ozone. My hair is standing on end inside the Tyvek hood. The static charge is so strong I can taste metal fillings I don't even have. And there is Father Thomas. He is standing at the altar, back to me. He is wearing his red vestments. He is swaying. Father! I shout. My voice echoes in the vast stone chamber. He turns. He isn't human anymore. Half of his face is grey stone. His left eye is gone, filled with the red dust. But his right eye is manic, wide, weeping clear tears that sizzle on his grey cheek. The architect arrives, he says. His voice sounds like grinding gravel. You are late for the communion. Open the doors, Thomas. I yell, pointing to the main entrance. There are people dying outside. The crawlers are eating them. The unclean. Thomas laughs. A dry, hacking sound. Let them be eaten. They clung to the soft world. He raises a hand. His hand is a claw of fused grey flesh. We have become the rock. We are the Iron Saints. He points to the floating sphere. It speaks, you know. It sings the frequency of the earth. I grip my rubber mallet. It's not God, Thomas. It's a magnetic storm. Turn it off. Turn it off. He steps toward the sphere. It is the battery of the new world. It draws the lightning. It hardens the flesh. It saves us from the rot. Boom. A massive thud against the main doors. The crawlers outside. They are ramming the wood. Open the doors. I scream. I run toward the stairs. I have to get to the nave. I have to get to the doors. Stop him. Thomas commands. He isn't talking to me. He is talking to the statues. In the front row, 3 grey figures stand up. Crack! The sound of fused joints breaking loose. They turn. They have no faces. Just smooth grey masks. They start walking toward the stairs, blocking my path. I am trapped on the balcony. The 3 saints are climbing the stairs. They move slowly, stiffly, but they weigh 300 pounds each. They are solid rock. If I hit them with the mallet, it will bounce off. I look at the altar, the sphere, the iron heart. It's the source. It's powering them. The magnetism is manipulating the iron in their bodies. If I stop the sphere, I stop the statues. But how? It's pure energy. If I touch it, I'll be electrocuted. I need to ground it. I need to short-circuit the field. I look around the choir loft. The pipe organ. A massive, majestic instrument. The pipes. Most are lead and tin. Non-ferrous. But the big ones, the 30-foot bass pipes, they are often zinc. Oh, I see a glint. Gold. Gold leaf over. Something. Doesn't matter. Gold is conductive. I run to the organ bench. I grab a loose pipe, a small flute pipe, maybe 3 feet long. Lead. Soft. Heavy. It's a club. But I need something bigger to hit the sphere. I look at the chandelier hanging above the nave. It's brass. Heavy chain. It hangs right over the altar. The chain runs to a winch on the wall of the choir loft. I run to the winch. The handle is iron. It's rusted. Fused solid. I can't lower the chandelier. The saints are at the top of the stairs. They lunge. I swing the lead pipe. Clang. I hit the first one in the head. The pipe bends. The statue's head cracks, a spiderweb fracture appearing on the grey face. But he doesn't stop. He grabs my arm. His grip is a vice. He squeezes. I scream. I feel the bones in my forearm grinding together. Let go. I kick him in the knee. Snap. His stone kneecap shatters. He falls. But the other two are on me. I scramble back, climbing onto the railing of the balcony. "Father!" I yell. "Look at what you're doing." Thomas is at the altar, his hands bathed in the purple light of the sphere. "I am forging eternity," he roars. I look at the chandelier again. The chain is rusted, but it's holding. If I can break the chain. I look at the statue on the floor, the one with the broken knee. He is trying to crawl toward me. I jump over him. I run to the wall. I grab the rusted chain of the chandelier. I wrap my legs around it, and I jump off the balcony. I am using my body weight, 180 pounds, plus the momentum of the fall. I swing out over the nave. The chain pulls tight. Creak. The rusted link at the winch groans. Break. I scream. Snap. The chain snaps. I fall. The chandelier falls with me. We plummet 20 feet toward the altar. I let go at the last second, rolling onto the stone steps of the sanctuary. The chandelier, 500 pounds of brass and glass, smashes directly into the floating iron heart. Crash. Zap. The impact drives the sphere into the stone altar. The brass conducts the charge. A massive bolt of purple lightning explodes outward. It hits Father Thomas. He doesn't scream. He glows. For a second, his skeleton is visible through his grey flesh, a skeleton of bright white light. Then he blasts apart. He disintegrates into a cloud of charged dust. The sphere collapses. The magnetic field dies. The hum stops. The lights go out. Silence. I look up. The statues on the stairs. They freeze. Without the active magnetic field driving them, they are just statues again. Gravity takes over. The one on the stairs tips over and crashes down, shattering into rubble. I am lying on the altar steps. My suit is shredded. My arm is broken. But the hum is gone. The only sound is the banging on the doors. Thud, thud, thud. The crawlers are breaking through. I stand up. The pain in my arm is blinding. I cradle it against my chest. I run down the aisle, past the rows of frozen worshippers. I reach the main doors. They are barred with a heavy oak beam. I grab it with my good hand. I lift. It's heavy. Too heavy for one arm. Come on, Elias. Lift. I grit my teeth. I use my shoulder. I push upward. The beam slides. It falls to the floor with a heavy clunk. I unlock the latch. I pull the doors open. The scene outside is chaos. The crawlers are swarming the steps. But the nurse, the woman with the bandana, is there. She is holding a torch. She is swinging it at them. The shovel man is down, buried under a pile of grey bodies. Get in! I scream. Get inside. The nurse looks up. She sees the open doors. Inside. Everyone inside. The crowd surges up the steps. They trample over the crawlers. Desperation gives them strength. I stand by the door, swinging my mallet, which I recovered from the floor, smashing the fingers of any crawler that tries to enter. They are slow. Without the magnetic storm to guide them, they are confused. The survivors pour into the nave. 10, 20, 50. When the last one is in, a child carried by an old man, I grab the door handle. A crawler lunges. It grabs the door. I look at it. It's the man from the golf cart, the one in the yellow suit. His mask is gone. His face is grey. Sorry, I whisper. I slam the door on his arm. Crunch. His arm snaps off. I slam the door shut. I drop the bar back into place. I slide down the wood, collapsing to the floor. We are sealed in. St. Jude's is a fortress of stone. The crawlers scratch at the wood outside. Scrape, scrape. But they can't get in. The nurse walks over to me. She kneels down. She looks at my broken arm. She looks at the shattered remains of the chandelier at the altar. Is it safe? She asks. I look at the pile of dust that used to be Father Thomas. The magnetism is gone, I say. The storm will pass. And the rust. I look at my own hand. The red dust is embedded in the skin of my palm. The rust stays, I say. I close my eyes. I listen to the breathing of 100 survivors in the dark. It sounds like the ocean. My name is Elias Thorne. I am the architect of Porthaven. It has been 1 week since the oxidation event. We are still in the cathedral. It is our base, our citadel. We have cleared the pews. We use the wood for fires. We sleep on the stone floor. We have organized. The nurse, her name is Sarah, runs the clinic in the sacristy. We have amputated 3 limbs that were turning grey. The patients survived. We learned that if you cut the infection out before it hits the bone, you live. The shovel man, he survived the attack, runs the scavenging teams. We go out at night. We wear plastic suits we made from tarp and duct tape. We don't go to the city centre. We go to the docks. We scavenge plastic, glass, wood, and stone. We are building a new world. A world without iron. We use stone tools. We use bronze tools scavenged from the church decor. We are learning the old ways. Masonry, carpentry. The Red Plague is still out there. The clouds of rust still blow through the streets. The lightning still strikes the high towers. And the grey men, they are still there. They stand in the streets like sentinels. They don't move much anymore. They are waiting, waiting for us to slip up, waiting for us to breathe the dust. But we are careful. I am standing in the bell tower now. I fixed the louvres. I am looking out at the city. It's beautiful, in a horrific way. The skyscrapers are gone. Just jagged stumps of concrete rising from the red dunes. The bridges are gone. The bay is a red lagoon. But the fires of our survival are burning. I realized something today. Civilization wasn't built on steel. Steel was a shortcut. Civilization is built on will. It's built on the refusal to turn to dust. We are the Stone Age now. And stone lasts.